The moment the coffee hit the diner floor, everyone went silent. Not because it spilled, but because a police officer poured it on purpose. The quiet man didn't react. Neither did his German shepherd. And that calm would soon terrify everyone in the room. The diner was the kind of place where nothing ever happened. Vinyl booths, faded menus, coffee that never tasted fresh. Locals came for routine, not surprises. That's why the man stood out, not because he was loud, but because he wasn't. He sat alone in a corner booth, back straight, shoulders relaxed, wearing plain clothes that didn't ask for attention. Beside him sat a German shepherd, calm and alert, her body perfectly still, eyes moving but never wandering. No leash tugging, no nervous pacing, just discipline. People noticed the dog first, then the man. He didn't scroll his phone, didn't fidget, didn't rush his meal. Every movement was deliberate, economical, like wasted motion had been trained out of him long ago. The dog mirrored that same control, watching him more than the room. A waitress paused longer than necessary when she poured his coffee. Something about the pair made her uneasy, not afraid, just aware. Like standing near deep water without seeing how far it drops. No one knew his name. No one asked. In small towns, strangers are either ignored or tested. And today, someone decided to test him. The bell above the diner door rang, and two uniformed officers stepped inside. Loud boots, loud voices, the kind of confidence that comes from never being questioned. The second officer leaned against the booth, smirking. Dogs like that make people nervous, especially cops. Still, the man didn't react. That's when the first officer picked up the coffee cup. Slowly, carefully, and tilted it. The dark liquid spilled onto the floor, spreading toward the dog's paws. A deliberate insult. A test. Oops, the officer said. Looks like a mess. You should clean that up. The diner went silent. The German shepherd didn't move. Not a growl. Not a flinch. The man placed his fork down gently. In that stillness, it became clear, this wasn't about rules. It was about power. And power had chosen the wrong target. The man stood slowly, hands visible, movements careful enough to avoid any excuse. He didn't raise his voice, didn't clench his fists. He simply looked at the officer. You done? He asked quietly. That calm irritated them more than anger ever could. The officer stepped closer, badge nearly touching the man's chest. You got a problem with authority? No, the man said. I've worked with it. That answer landed wrong. The second officer laughed too loudly, trying to regain control of the moment. Big talk for someone hiding behind a dog. The German shepherd's ears twitched. Her muscles tightened, but she stayed seated, eyes locked on her handler. Waiting. The man rested a hand lightly on her head. Instantly, she relaxed. That's when people noticed it. Not fear. His eyes swept the room and locked instantly on the scene. What's going on here? He asked. The officer straightened. Just handling a situation, sir. The man by the booth turned slightly so the newcomer could see him clearly. See the posture, the scars on his hands, the way the dog never broke focus. No situation, the stranger said. Just breakfast. The uniformed man's gaze dropped to the dog tags still visible in the man's hand. Recognition flickered. His tone changed immediately. Sir, may I see your ID? The man handed it over without ceremony. The officer read it once. Then again, his jaw tightened. Because the name on that card wasn't public. It wasn't famous. It belonged to briefings, not headlines. Missions without cameras. Men who didn't talk. He handed it back with both hands. My apologies, he said quietly. Then he turned to his officers. All of you. Outside. Now. No one argued. No jokes. No laughter. Just chairs scraping and boots retreating. The man sat back down, exhaling for the first time. The German shepherd leaned against his leg, finally relaxing. The room stayed silent, not out of fear anymore. Out of respect. The waitress approached slowly and set down a fresh cup of coffee. On the house, she said. The man nodded once. No smile. No speech. When he finished, he stood, clipped the leash on his dog, and walked toward the door. The room parted for him without being asked. Outside, the officers stood quietly, eyes down. The man passed them without a word. Because strength doesn't need the last word. Inside the diner, people returned to their meals, but something had changed. They'd seen the difference between authority and arrogance. Between noise and control. The German shepherd paused at the door, glanced back once, then followed her handler into the daylight. and the lesson stayed behind. The most dangerous people don't announce who they are. They don't bully. They don't brag. They stay calm and let others reveal themselves.